Hello and welcome to Unwind Sessions, where right after my shift I give the highlights of my workday and answer any questions that might have been asked at a previous session. My name is Juan. I am an English, Spanish, medical video remote consecutive interpreter with over 4 years of experience. And today is Monday, May 31st, 2021. Happy Memorial Day to all the veterans in the U.S. And today I took a total of 20 sessions. It was a really slow day, as you might expect from the holiday. Um, Most of the sessions were like ER or just people that were already in the hospital. And I have to say there were no over the phone sessions today. Everything was all video, all it wasn't all 20. I couldn't answer like a couple, two, or maybe a little bit more sessions. So I probably took around 17, 16 real sessions that I actually had to do some work in. And there was one session that was like really quick. It was like not even a minute. So that was the sessions that I took today. There was only one noteworthy session today, and what happened in this session is that the lady had a respiratory problem. So, of course, I couldn't really hear what she was saying, and I didn't know at the beginning, so I asked her to speak up, and of course, she couldn't. So, it was like if I hadn't told her anything, and I understood. Uh, because of how they were telling her to take a deep breath and everything, and I was able to catch on pretty quickly. So, since I knew that the lady wasn't going to speak up because of the problem that she was having, I had to hear her, right? So, what I did was I told the provider if she could actually go ahead and place the device as close to the patient as possible. So I was right next to her, like I could actually see the poison in her face. Not kidding. So, and I still couldn't hear her. So what I had to do is that I every time the lady spoke, I had to press my headphone right into my ear, and I could hear her right after that. So I mean, there's just all kinds of situations, like I've said before, that are going to demand more than just a regular interpretation session, just a straightforward session. Nope, you can forget about it. Most of them are going to be easy peasy and you're going to get right through them, but there's going to be some like this one that are going to demand your creativity, and maybe they're going to ask you to do things that maybe you're not supposed to do. For example, in my company, they tell us that you're not supposed to see your hands on the screen, but if I wasn't whole, and you're not supposed to see your tattoos either, so I was actually going like this, so they couldn't see my tattoos. But I mean, it was either showing my hands on screen and pressing the headphone and asking the person to actually put the device as close to the person as possible, or not being able to hear the patient. So sometimes you are going to have to bend the rules to actually serve the people that need you, that need your assistance. So that was the only highlight that I had today. Like I told you, I mean, most of the sessions were just pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Nothing really worth mentioning on that. So today I am pretty sure that today is going to be a pretty lengthy unwind session. I hope not. I hope this doesn't go over 30 minutes, but it probably will. And that is because I had already, since it was a slow day, I was preparing the material that I was going to work on. And since I knew there weren't going to be that many highlights, I actually went ahead and did something on adaptability. But it turns out that two of our viewers asked a question. So I am going, they're very interesting questions indeed. So I am going to give you the lesson today about adaptability, or what I believe adaptability means in our business, and answer both of our viewers' questions. So yeah, let's get started. So let's talk about adaptability. Now, I went ahead and I Googled the definition of adaptability. You know how I always like to Google or just look up the definitions to make sure that I know that I am using a word correctly. So, adaptability, according to Google, is the quality of being able to adjust to new conditions and also the capacity to be modified for a new purpose. Okay, so like I said, most of the sessions are going to be straightforward and just what you would expect out of a session textbook, right? Just like they showed you in training, nothing to worry about. But there are some times when things are just not going to be that smooth. There's going to be uncomfortable situations. There's going to be things that you do not agree with. For example, I've had to interpret some abortion sessions. Now, I'm not gonna get into my point of view about that because it really doesn't matter. But there's some people that are against it. There's some people that are pro. And actually, in our company, if you are against abortion and you actually have an abortion session, you can actually opt out. You can say this session goes against my beliefs, and I don't think I'll be able to be um, unbiased or not unbiased. Actually, more like I can't think of the word. Like I will not be the right interpreter because this is going to affect me personally because I don't agree with those beliefs, right? And there's things that are going to make you feel bad. For example, I've given some examples. Whenever I have to give bad news, of course, that always makes me feel bad. And things for OPI and VRI, bad connections are always horrible. And if you're a VRI or OPI, you know what I'm talking about, and you know how bad and frustrating it can be. And for all of them, there's always some weird accents that you're not familiar with, especially at the beginning. You're probably not familiar with any accent. So another thing is that there's going to be special situations like interpreting for groups, interpreting for just one person, and then the other person speaks English. And then there are times where you are going to be asked to do simultaneous interpreting. This has only happened once. It was in a setting where they were giving a group session and the LEP was the only LEP there and the only person that I had to interpret for. And of course, they were giving their session and they were not stopping for me to actually interpret, right? They just went through it. They just like if I wasn't even there. So I caught on real quickly. I said, man, they're not going to give me time to actually do the consecutive interpreting thing. So I tried my best at simultaneous interpreting, and there was a few hiccups here and there, but I think I did pretty good for my first time. So another thing is that a doctor might be in a hurry, there might be an emergency, there might be some really loud noises in the rooms. You could run out of paper, you could run out of ink, the battery on your LCD board could die, your LCD board might not work like it happened to me last week. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong, right? And a lot of things, if it was a perfect world, then all of our sessions would be smooth and everything would be perfect, but the world's not perfect, right? It might be awesome, but not perfect. So, why do I talk about this today? Because today I noticed that I went through an adaptation and I am going to go into it right now, but I would like to mention why it is that I'm actually talking about this today. So I started out like everybody, right? Just what they tell you in the textbook, pen and paper. That's like the first, like your first starter Pokemon, right? Pen and paper. And then I didn't want to spend all of the time just ripping up the papers and the pens. I would run out of pens like you have no idea so quickly, and notebooks. I was buying too many notebooks and too many pens, and I said, well, that's just too much. And then the time to actually destroy the notes at the end of the shift, I just didn't want to do that. So I went ahead and I bought a whiteboard and a marker, and I've told this story before. I had to adapt right there because I had to make bigger notes because of the thickness of the tip of the marker, and that was an adaptation that I actually had to go through. And then after that, I couldn't find the markers, so I actually purchased this very cheap LCD board, which I was using before until it actually gave me problems last week. And until now, that I actually have this a little bit more high-end one, which is a little bit too much, I would say, for if you only need an LCD board. This is also a drawing board you can use with Photoshop and other edit video, well, not video, digital art. Damn, I can think image. I can't think of image. Just for image editing, right? So this is actually really, really, really nice. And but anyways, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about it because one of our viewers actually asked a question about it. So I'm gonna get a little bit more into it. But right now, I'm talking about what what I adapted to today, what I actually noticed. So as you can see, right off the bat, you can see. Actually, I don't even know how to say that. Right off the back or right off the bat. I'm gonna have to look into that. Can you believe that? Okay, so anyways, you can see like the size difference right away. And I told you in another video that and I showed you the notes that I was taking, and my notes were actually diagonally like this. And I just couldn't understand how come my brain couldn't do them like this. Like, I'm actually doing them here in this whiteboard, and now I'm actually showing you, these are real notes from today. And I scratched out here the confidential information. This was the name and phone number. But these are all notes that I actually took today. These were probably like 3 sessions. So as you can see, I am writing, actually let me put it closer. As you can see, I am writing like 3 words, and then I am actually going down, and then I am actually going down and going down and going down like 3-4 words to a note, to a line, and then I actually go down. And at a previous session, I said that with this tablet, it was impossible for me to actually do that. Like, my brain just couldn't do it. Like, I would actually have to think and concentrate on actually getting my notes written down like this. And of course, if you're concentrating too much on taking notes, you're not going to be listening. So that was a problem that I had. So I just gave it up, and I thought I was never going to be taking notes like this. But I noticed today, and I realized the reason why I was taking notes like that. So let me get adjusted here. So right here, for example, if I was taking notes, let me see if you can see it right here. Oh, actually, let me put it right here. So I was actually, let me just do it like this. I think I can do it like this. So I was taking notes and I was writing, but I noticed today from using the other board, which is bigger and cannot be manipulated or just like this, what I was doing is that the writing hand, I wouldn't move. I noticed that what I was actually moving was the board. So that is actually pretty great, and that is awesome that my hand wouldn't move, and that's why I could actually write good notes and everything, because it was actually the board that I was moving as I was writing. But now with this new board, since it's really big, I mean, like, honestly, I can't. My brain just doesn't work like this. It can't even manage doing it so bad and so big. I'm sorry. And then also, it's that it's heavier. This is heavier because, of course, it's not just an LCD board. So it's actually not that easy to just move the board like this, right? And then imagine just having to move it like that. So then I just set it in a position, and then I just write like this, down. And then whenever I go like this, I do move the board a little bit, and then I write. And then I move the board, and then I write. And that is something that just happened today, because this is the second day that I've been using this board, and my brain just adapted to it. And now that is the way that I am writing notes now. So my brain adapted to something that I didn't knew, but I couldn't incorporate into this tablet. So now with this new tool, it actually forced me to actually do it. So I believe that's actually good because it takes I take faster notes like that. But of course, with the other board, I was actually taking pretty faster notes because I could actually move the board. But can you imagine like moving your notebook like that? Like I couldn't. I honestly, I don't know. I couldn't even imagine it, or a whiteboard either. No. So I was able to do that with the LCD board with the small one, but not with this big one that's so much heavier. But I mean, well, actually, yeah, that was everything that I was going to say about that. That now I know, like, I was able to understand the reason why I couldn't write the notes like that because, of course, I didn't need to. I mean, I was just moving my hand back and forth. I was just moving the board and I wasn't moving this hand. So, of course, that was perfect. And why would I be moving my hand if I just had to move the board, right? So now on this one, I'm actually writing notes like they taught me in the interpreting course that I took when I first became an interpreter. So yeah, I mean, this might not seem like much, but it it's pretty impressive to me because I couldn't understand the reason why, and so I actually had to get a new tool to actually understand that. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Now I am going to go right into one of our viewers' questions. So Rafaela Quevedo, and she says, "Hi, I am from Peru, and I am training to be an English-Spanish interpreter, and I was recommended your channel. Could you please give me more information about your board for notes? I am not good at taking notes on a laptop and I don't want to spend too much paper, waste too much paper." Okay. Yeah. So I mean, same reason, right? Same reason why I believe we all wanna adopt this new technology, right? Other than because it's awesome as well, but also because we don't want to waste that much paper, right? Uh, so yeah, let me go ahead and talk about this board right here. And the actually, yeah, no, let me talk to you about this board, the new one that I have, which is a Huon. Let me fix this and let me put on the brand here. It's a Huion. I don't even know how to pronounce that. H320M. So this is the brand and the model. Pretty sure you can see it there. Huion H320M. And I would say that this is a a pretty great LCD board, but also keep in mind that I have never used any other LCD board in my life besides this two. I wouldn't know about any other brands or anything, but just in comparison, this very cheap one, I fell in love with it because it's so practical and of course it's so easy to manipulate and everything. But it doesn't have the same quality as this one. This one I feel like is smoother than actually writing with a pen. So I really love this, and I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend it if they only sold the LCD boards, but they don't. Like their main thing is drawing boards. So it's actually nice that they actually incorporated this into it. And I would say if you're like me, like you actually mess around with Photoshop and Illustrator a little bit, or any other image editing software, I would say yeah, go. And you're also an interpreter. I would say, yeah, go ahead and get it, man. This is great. The quality of it is great, and when you erase it, completely erases and it goes black. Like, Honestly, I love it. I love it. The only thing that I don't like about it is that, like I said before, it's too big, and it's also a little well, too, it's not that heavy, maybe a little bit heavier than a notebook, but yeah, I mean, it's not that easy to actually go ahead and use. Like, I'm actually using it like this, actually holding it like this, and that's how I use it. But sometimes I actually do like use it like this as well, or I'm actually just holding it several different ways to actually be able to use it, as opposed to this one, which this one I would just hold like this. I keep on moving it like that because I remember that that's how I use. Well, I learned that that's how I use it. I didn't even notice that. That's amazing. So, uh, yeah, I mean, if you are actually going to be using this side as well, I would really recommend it. I would say, yeah, definitely go ahead and get this one. But if not, I think it's overkill, and I don't think it's really that worth it. Although the quality is awesome, but like I said, I haven't used any other one, so I really couldn't speak for other LCD boards. But yeah, this one is really quite great. Now, having said that, I am going to give you some tips that I think, since you're in training, I would have to say that for training, I think that you would benefit more from actually just using good old pen and paper to write out your notes. Now, why do I say this? I've actually explained this in another video, and the reason to actually use pen and paper during your training, or actually uh, to actually use pen and paper during your training and not an LCD board, it's because an LCD board, everything is erased and it's lost forever, right? You're never going to be able to see those notes again. And you're in training right now. You have to see your notes. You have to see everything that's going on, everything that you're doing in your notes. If you can, that it'll help you gauge your notes as well. And also, when you see all of those notes, it'll give you an idea onto what you need to improve. And also, when you compare the notes at the beginning of when you first started the course and after you finish your 40 hours, that's going to give you a very nice confidence boost, because you're going to see like your when you were trying to write every little word down, and now that you've actually um, improved upon your note taking skills, that is going to be a confidence boost, because you're gonna be like, damn, I was trying to write everything, and then now I am more selective with what I write, and I write less. So I think that for training, or if you're working on improving your notes, pen and paper is the way to go. I would say there's no substitute for that. But if you're actually already working, or you've already had some time, some experience under your belt, I would say go ahead and just try everything to see what suits you the most. But definitely, I would have to say, I mean, I'm sold on the LCD boards. I don't think I could ever go back to anything else. So, having said that, I believe that, of course, I only have experience on those two boards, so I would say take this advice with a grain of salt. But in conclusion, I would say that you really, in my opinion, you have two options. You can either go the route that I went and just buy your very cheap one. Like I told you, is this was like less than $5, and I actually looked it up in Mercado Libre from Peru, and I think they're like 32 soles. You can see if it has a little trash can on it, that's definitely this very cheap one, and this is like 13.5 inches. So I would say you can either go ahead and buy this very cheap one and then just try it for yourself, just to see if you get used to it, just to see how you like it. But do keep in mind that the higher end ones are going to be much better. Oh, I thought it stopped recording. I'm sorry. So just keep in mind that um, because of what you actually find out from a cheap one, what you experience from a cheap one, it I would say it is improved on on this one, on the higher end one. So I'm guessing and I'm assuming here, I'm going out on a limb, and I'm going to say that if you actually get a medium price range one, I would say that the quality is going to be much better. So you can actually opt to go the cheap route to see how it works out, or and actually, if you don't like it, if you don't use it, this is great to actually just have laying around just to write quick notes on it, even if you don't use it for interpreting. And if you buy a higher end one, like a more expensive one, I believe that you are going to get much better quality and maybe longer life, because this probably lasted me like 7, 8 months, not even a year, and I started having trouble with it. And also at the beginning, it was a little hard to see, so I had to modify modify my lighting, my lighting. I had to modify my lighting to actually go ahead and be actually able to see what I was writing on here. But on this one, on the Huion, I didn't have to modify it, anything, and I can actually, even if there's light hitting it directly, I can actually see what it says. So uh, either option is fine. I would say either option is fine. At the end, you're gonna get a product that you will probably use. If you don't use for interpreting because you don't like it for X or Y reason, there's always going to be a little notebook that you can actually write notes on, and that is something that is very cool, in my opinion, right? So, I mean, buy a cheap one and try it, or you can buy a little bit more expensive one and just try it as well, right? Um, to be honest, now that, but of course I have hindsight bias, right? And in hindsight, I would say that I would actually uh, would have gone for a little bit more expensive one than this one, because of course this is very cheap. This was like $5, maybe on the $25 range. I believe that you might, and this is a big belief. I don't know, uh, but of course, because of the price, I would assume and I would believe that around the $25 range, they would be like very, very good. Well, not very, very good quality, but good quality, and much better than this one. That's for sure. So that is the only thing that I can tell you about it. Um, yeah, you asked me about it, and I was seeing here in Mercado Libre Peru, and what I actually put in the search bar was LCD tableta pizarra. And the first thing that actually comes out is Pizarra Digital Xiaomi, and it's 129 soles. And this one right here, the little cheap one, I can see here that it's 29 soles or 32 soles. So you can see the price difference right away, right? 30 soles to like 130 soles. That's like a 4-time difference. So I'm pretty sure that the price will actually make a difference. So if you can afford it, and I would say go for a higher end one, because I'm pretty sure you're gonna love it. But if you're skeptic and you're not really sure, then you can always opt for a much cheaper one. And well, I hope that that I was able to help you. And like I said, I in the future, I am going to make a really good video, pros and cons, on this one. So stay tuned for that one. And moving on, I have another question from another one of our viewers. His name is Carlos M. Garriga Martinez. And thank you very much for all of your kind words, sir. They really mean a lot to me and to all of our team. Thank you very much for all of that. And I have to say that all of your experience sounds amazing. And uh, I would really love for Adrian. He is one of our co-workers here. He is part of our team, I should say. And I would really love it if he could actually interview you. I'm going to send you, of course, I'm going to send you links for the companies that you asked for through email, and then I'll just send you more information to see if we can actually do an interview. It would be great for you because you're actually in person and you have a lot of experience. It would be great if you could actually tell us a little bit about what in person is for all of our viewers. So I would actually think that would be really, really cool. So going into your question, Mr. Carlos says, I have and I have company experience as a manager, as a trainer, and a supervisor, which I actually work as right now. I would like to make the jump once and for all, and to become an interpreter full time, either by minute or following a schedule like you do. Could you please share your impressions about these two ways and suggest the names of some companies for traduction, for translation and interpretation? And just to let you know, this is actually in Spanish, so I'm actually site translating right now. It's in Spanish, and I'm telling it to you in English. So that's why I'm making a little bit of misinterpretation. So then he says some companies about translation or interpretation without actually supporting any of them that would accept interpreters full time, either video or over the phone. And yeah, I'm actually going to send you a list with some nice companies and some nice resources that you that I've actually found online, so that might be able to help you to get you on that road. So I am going to talk about um, the two ways that I've actually worked. I've only worked by that, by the minute, and by a schedule like I am working now. And let me tell you that, of course, when I started working by the minute, I this was much. I was gonna make much more than I had ever made here in Mexico. Ever since I came back to Mexico, I had never made that much money. Um, so I mean that seemed like a lot of money, and I was working by the minute, and of course it's great. Every minute that passed, that's a minute that you actually got paid, and it was awesome. It was great because I was getting so much money. Um, but of course, like every good Mexican, and I'm talking about history here. If you know history of our country, whenever the things get good, whenever money starts flowing into Mexico, Mexico thinks that's gonna last forever, and Mexico just gets into a lot of debt, and then it turns out markets crash or uh, markets collapse, just whatever happens for some reason, and then things don't look so good for Mexico, and now Mexico doesn't have money to pay that debt, so it just more debt. So that's basically what happened to me. So I was already used. We were in high season, so of course I made my debt match my income. So horrible, horrible thing to do. And if history has taught us anything, that always ends really, really bad. Um, but so then I was making all this money, right? And then all of a sudden, the summer months come, and during the summer months, the call flow is much, much less. So there were times when I was actually making half of what I was expecting to make. And of course, if there are no calls, then you don't get paid. and that was very, very bad. That was very bad. That was one of the things that I hated about this company. That, I mean, I'm still sitting there, in front of a computer, and I know that I'm not getting paid. Um, but that's time for me. Like you're taking time up for me, and you're like just waiting for me to actually pick up a call, and if no call comes through, there's nothing else that I can do right on the side. So to make up for those dead times, me and my sister started doing the first interpret your world videos, because I thought, I mean, I have to do something else with my time, right? I mean, I have a family to feed. I I just can't just be sitting here and not working on something else, because if no call comes in, I'm not gonna make any money, and I have all this debt because, like an idiot, I thought life was going to be great all the time, but of course that's not the way life is. And yeah, I mean, that was hard. I mean, that it just, I was hitting my head against the wall during those times. So yeah, I would say if you can avoid minute, uh, go ahead and do it. I would say don't work by the minute, because not all the seasons are great, and the companies expect you to be there even though you're not making money, and you're just wasting time by being there, and you could actually be doing other things. So I would actually say, if you can avoid working by the minute, or you actually have something else that is actually backing you up, and you don't really need all those full minutes, then go ahead by any means and do it. Go for it. But if that is going to be your only income, I would say, like, really think twice about it, because like I said, there's good seasons and there's always bad seasons, right? It's not like it's all good and jolly the whole year. Um, yeah, and that's pretty much all I have to say by the minute. And now, when now that I am actually working on a salary, like, it doesn't matter if I take 100 calls, if I take 0 sessions. Like today, I took 20 sessions, and I did my shift, and I'm getting paid the same as Friday when I took, like, I don't know, the 30, 32, like I take on average. And that is great, because, for example, today, um, I took 20 calls, and I'm not worried. I'm actually happy that I took less calls, because I worked less and I got paid more, right? So that's actually awesome. That's an awesome feeling, that even though if I am like on low volume seasons, I don't even worry anymore. And of course, I learned to not make my debt match my expenses, right? I am also able to save money, right? I learned my lesson. And I mean, it's great. And it's also awesome because I can actually make a budget, because I already know how much I'm making a month. And every month I always make the same amount, unless I work less, unless I happen to miss work, right? So that's great. I think that's great for mental stability. That's great for income. I mean, I could go on and on and on about all the great things of actually working like this, right? And another thing is that if we go over a shift, then they start to pay us by the minute. So if I work my 8.5 hour shift, and then well, 8 hour shift, because it gives a half an hour, well, whatever. So um, let's say I go past my shift 1 minute, then they pay me that 1 minute. So that's actually great. They pay you by the minute, every um, like overtime. They pay you by the minute, so that's actually awesome, you know. And that they actually did that on the other company as well that I was working for. But like I told you, I mean, the low volume seasons are horrible. I would never wish that on anybody. And yeah, well, that is pretty much all I have to say. I mean, if you can work by the hour, I would actually say just go ahead and pick work by the hour, which is in the U.S. I don't think they give you like a salary over there. I think it's by the hour. I'm not sure about that because I don't live over there and I've never worked as an interpreter, as an interpreter over there. Um, Funny story, I actually struggle to say interpreter. This is something that I actually have to practice. Believe it or not. So yeah, I mean, if you can actually work for the hour or as a salary, I would say hands down, go ahead and go for that. Don't even fall for the minute trap unless, like I said, you have a backup, something actually backing you up, and it's not going to leave you hanging because you're just depending on those minutes, right? So yeah, I hope I was able to help, and I hope that I can get you an interview. I think that would be really insightful, and that would be really really awesome. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comments and questions, guys. And that is going to be pretty much it for me today. How long? 40 minutes. See, I knew it was going to be long. So yeah. Uh, Remember to please leave your questions and comments here, and I will answer some of them on the next session. I'll be here every Monday through Friday after work. And thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe if you liked the video and have not done so for more content. And don't forget to share. Happy interpreting. Goodbye.